The silence beneath the sown speaks. So here I am. I'm at my son's gravesite. I just changed some of the flowers here. And every time I come here, it feels so surreal because I, like many of you who tend the graves of the ones we love, I can't believe that he's gone. And I can't believe that he's been gone for the number of years he has been, since 2011, and then it feels like just yesterday. So what does the stone speak? Well, the stone today spoke to me about transformation. The transformation of the relationship that I had to have with Nicholas's spirit. The transformation I had to have from being his dad in the world and losing that role, even though I had other roles, but losing the role that he was to me. And also the fact that I have transformed from, being almost in the grave with him, probably wanting to be there with him, to being able to live a life that's meaningful and worthwhile, and have come through what I did. If you knew my story, which you can look on my bio or my website or somewhere, my YouTube channel, and see my story, but I literally went through hell and have come back. And I feel so what's the word when you give, when you want to just pay homage to somebody that has really done you a lot of good, because my son taught me how to operate a lot in this world, and then he taught me again how to really get back on my feet after his loss. And I had to go through a lot to get back on my feet, and so the stone speaks. And by the way, if this is anywhere near in your heart, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel or hit the follow button there, share this with someone. But the stone speaks to me of, my memories of when I was really sick and grieving and in an awful state, and to where I am today, where I'm living and serving people who have lost children and others, and have found purpose that was inspired by his loss. Would I give everything back to have him back? Of course I would. But the stone also speaks of triumph of the family, overcoming such a terrible loss. My other son Alexander losing his brother, my wife, myself, of transforming and standing and sticking together as a family, because many families fall apart through when the stone speaks. Because when you put that gravestone on, it feels like a period at the end of a sentence. I've been here many a times to the cemetery where there have been gravestones that have been unmarked or just have a plant on them or something with no headstone for years. Either people can't afford them or the pain is too great, because when we put that gravestone on, it feels like a period, like we're never going to do anything or serve this person again. And yet I come here all the time, probably 2-3 times a year, and change the flowers, and I feel like, wow, isn't this weird? This is how I'm serving my son Nick. It seems so messed up. And yet, where I used to have terrible, I couldn't even come here for the first 2 years after we buried Nick. I couldn't come to the cemetery. And now I come here and I find peace, and I find something behind it that I can't describe here in words. And it seems to me that the grave really does speak. I still can't believe that 6 feet under me are the bones of my son. And that, at Halloween time, some people have those skeletons and stuff that are crawling out of the ground and stuff. And, you know, I see all of that in a whole different light as funny, right? Because I know what feeling like someone you love is in the grave really means. So anyway, today I'm here. It's a beautiful day. I'm at peace with, you know, I finally made peace around his loss. Now that I'm never going to forget him, I never will. I carry his loss and the pain of that every day. But I'm at peace, like I call peace after passage, on my Facebook page. But I am here and seeing his loss differently than I did. And I think that's what eventually happens as you do grief work. If you do your grief work, you can see the loss differently than initially when we are just, our hearts are ripped away and we don't know what to do with ourselves. Grief teaches us a lot about ourselves. It teaches us a lot about the other person as we begin to access memories of who they were and what they were to us versus the loss and the event of their loss. So the stone does speak in many different ways over time, and I hope that, you know, this makes you think a little bit for yourself in terms of what the stone means to you, and where you've come, and if you feel you've done your grief work, because it does take work to get to the place that I've arrived. And I'm not trying to brag, I just feel blessed that I am, because I was useless probably for almost 4 or 5 years. And now I'm, you know, thriving. And that's what I want for you. So that's why I'm out here on these videos and talking in a real sense, in a real way, because the reality of what the stone speaks really has an impact on our lives. So this is Harold. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. In the meantime, I encourage you to first survive, then to strive, and eventually maybe even thrive. This is Harold Polis from the graveside of my son, Nick, whom I love dearly and miss more than I can say. Thanks for watching.